joined as always by
Steve.
And Joe.
I love that you like hesitated more than
Joe,
normal.
I think maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't remember my alias. Shut up. Today we're going to talk about a mystery, and it's a disappearance. And I'm willing to bet it's one you've never heard of.
Yeah, I would say most people have not heard of this.
Yeah.
It's from Canada.
Yeah, that's
Which very
why.
few people have heard of,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
Canada.
No, nobody's been there.
America's
Nobody's heard
hat.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, there are going to be some Canadian jokes.
What does that make Mexico? I don't want... No,
Pants.
forget it. Okay.
America's pants?
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the disappearance of Stephanie Stewart. Some nice alliteration.
That's a Canadian name, isn't it?
Yeah. And actually, Megan suggested this mystery in 2016, so thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Megan.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's get to it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
In 2006, 70-year-old Stephanie Stewart disappeared. She was an avid outdoors woman and had spent 18 consecutive summers fire spotting. You guys know what fire spotting is, right?
You should probably tell their listeners because not everybody's going to know.
It's literally sitting in a tower with like binoculars looking to see if you can see any fires happening. Smoke. Yeah. Well, yeah,
typically you're looking for smoke.
You're looking for smoke, yes.
Very true.
Anyway, so the last 13 years of her fire spotting career were spent at the same cabin/tower combo, about 15 miles or 25 kilometers outside of Hinton, Alberta, Canada, which is about 3 hours west of Edmonton, Alberta, which I think is the largest one.
Largest city.
Mm-hmm. And everybody knows where Edmonton is, so yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, north of the 49th parallel.
Yeah. The tower is called the Athabasca Tower, and I have heard that it's not like terribly remote. It's only like 3 miles or 5 kilometers off of a fairly major highway.
Yeah, and this one is a nice, easy.
Posh.
It's like just a drive up.
It's a drive up,
thing. You don't have to
and we'll
hike
talk
in or
about
anything.
that and all that stuff. But it's also really close to Edson, Alberta. Just if anybody's like familiar with that area.
Yeah, so it wasn't such a lonely outpost to be at, I guess.
No. To be clear, when I said cabin tower combo. So the way these things work is you have this big tower.
At least this particular one.
Most of them work this way.
Do they?
I think most of them do. Yeah.
Like around here, most of the towers around here, it's like the cabin and the tower are combined.
Yeah,
your
but
cabin is at the top of the tower. That's where you live.
Which probably would have been a better situation all around for this.
Yeah, living in the sky would have been safer.
Yeah, but the way that the towers work in Canada, or at least in this area of Canada, is their tower cabin combos. So the tower is relatively small at the top. I think it has room for, chairs and desks or whatever, but it's pretty small otherwise. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of up there with a book or your thoughts or whatever. And then you climb down a ladder every night, and there's a big cabin where you stay with your bed and your kitchen and your bathroom and all of that stuff.
And, it's funny is that I had seen old school fire towers before, so I was actually a little taken off guard when I saw this, and I know that some people may think that this is what they are, but they're steel constructs, the towers.
Yeah, towers are.
It's it's a big giant pole in the sky with what would you say, Joe? It's like 10 by 10, 15 by 15, but it's all glassed in. Mm-hmm. Like it's not open to the elements. It's rather sheltered in that way. And the
must be a joy to be inside on a hot day.
Oh, I can only imagine. But the ones I was used to seeing from when I was a kid in the woods.
Open wood ones?
Yeah, the wood ones that were a wooden platform, and you were lucky if they had a handrail around them.
Yeah.
So
those are pretty nice. Actually, they're still around. You can you can stay in those. You can rent them for a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As mentioned, Stephanie did her, stint for 13 years at this same cabin. And so she lived every year, April to September, in that cabin tower combo. It sounds like kind of a fun summer job for some people. I would die because I hate being alone. I'm very extroverted, but I know a lot of people who really, I think, would super enjoy this.
And it really wasn't so far out the sticks that people couldn't come and visit either. I think she did have visitors.
Well, and I know that like you could have somebody live with you and all that stuff, but I need stuff.
Yeah, well, she was obviously was one of those people that being by herself, and I mean, you always see it listed that she was gardening and was it knitting? Is that the I think she was knitting, and there was some other hobby that she had.
She liked to read books.
Yeah, so she had all these very solitary, singular person hobbies.
Yeah, she liked to. One thing she was fond of doing was going out in the woods and teasing the bears.
No.
Yeah.
He's trying to frame a theory.
I
and
know.
it's
No,
not
I'm not. A little foreshadowing there.
The thing is that she obviously had interests that lent themselves to this,
alone.
whether she had them before she started it or learned them during her time.
Yeah.
She probably already knew how to read and garden.
That's
probably
what I meant.
I know.
I think on her time off, she spent most of it outdoors, actually. She had reportedly very recently, at 70 years old, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. That's pretty... That would be hard for me to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm 30, so she's in much better health than I am, which, is fine. And she wintered at a resort community called Rocky Mountain somewhere in Alberta, Canada. I didn't bother to really look up because I didn't think it mattered that much.
It was a senior community.
Send us an email, because I know somebody's going to be mad that we didn't look it up.
Probably a senior community.
Yeah, probably.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
She had at least one daughter, but other than that, details on her life are very sparse, and I think that's kind of intentional. Like we said, spotters live pretty much alone during their time at the cabins, though it is noted that they're allowed to have, like a spouse or a dog or something like that with them, but most of them do it alone, and it does seem like that was a draw for Stephanie. She did seem to be into that lonely lifestyle. And then, as mentioned, she was 70 years old at her time of disappearance, 5'2" and about 105 pounds.
Kind of a small person, yeah.
Yeah, that's a small person.
I'd say so.
Fire spotters do make routine calls via radio or phone, depending on the time of the day, to check in, to a kind of like central tracking hub, which is run by a supervisor, to report all clear or anything needing further investigation. And Stephanie was, by all reports, very good about making these calls. She checked in every time by the time that was required. Not like crazy early, but...
I mean, more so now than then, but they were obviously big on safety. You wanted to check in on your people multiple times just to make sure, because they are out in the middle of nowhere by themselves.
Well, especially if they take a tumble coming down those stairs from the tower.
Well, but that's exactly what I was going to go to, is if you look at photos of her online, you can actually see her wearing her harness to tether up to the stairs, or the ladder, I should say.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those ladders with the circular bands of metal around it, so that if you fall over, you stay contained. Mm-hmm. But she also was harnessed in all the time.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily stay contained. You just sort of you just sort of rattle down that little tube.
Yeah, but if you're strapped in like you're supposed to be, that doesn't happen.
That won't happen.
And you see pictures of her in that. So, I mean, A, the safety equipment was present, and B, it sounds like from the way she took things, she took it very seriously, and it was by the book all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other reason you want your fire spotters to check in all the time is fires can get very quickly out of hand.
Oh, yeah.
And so, the more notice you have to send somebody to go check on that spot where it's coming, with smoke coming out of it, the better chance you have to really contain it and have it not spread into like what we're seeing in like California right now, or what we saw in Oregon over the summer.
Oh, yeah, and you want to make sure your spotter is therefore on the job and not like, just off dinking around somewhere.
Totally.
Yeah,
absolutely. So let's get into the night before Stephanie's disappearance and the circumstances surrounding, shall we?
Would it be the night before or the night of the night before?
It's hard to tell.
Okay.
On the evening of August 25th, 2006, Stephanie called a relative. And I've literally never, maybe you guys with like eagle eyes, I know I posted a couple like threads, and I honestly did not look at every single post on every single thread, so sorry guys, but
that's okay.
But if you eagle eyes saw this,
my eagle eyes did not, although for some reason I'm thinking it was her daughter.
I had the same. I never saw it either, but I had the same thought.
Well, and we'll talk about that in theories, because I also think that, but
okay.
But Stephanie called a relative, and that's literally the only way you will ever see it reported, is that she called a relative. I think it was about 9 p.m., and that was the last time that anybody officially spoke to her. I mean, probably other people spoke to her.
It's possible. Don't want to give
depending on
away.
the theory, but That's the last time that somebody actually spoke to her. Like we mentioned just a couple minutes ago, spotters are required to check in every morning as well, right? To say, hey, I'm up, I'm headed up to the tower.
I'm not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Yep. And Stephanie missed her required check-in that morning. On the August 26th,
Right.
2006. Since Stephanie was super reliable, her supervisor figured, okay, she didn't just sleep over, right? But
Or oversleep.
Oversleep, yeah, sorry. But I'll give her a call on the phone just to, check. And nope, no answer. So the supervisor called a spotter that was close to Stephanie's location and said, hey, I can't get in contact with Stephanie. Can you just run over to her cabin/tower, see what's going on, see if she needs any help.
Check on her, yeah.
Just check on her, normal. Officially, this spotter that was close to her went to the cabin-tower combo situation and found a pot of boiling water, a pot or kettle, it's unclear which, of boiling water, but no Stephanie. Also missing were 2 pillows with blue pillowcases, a burgundy bed sheet. This is all a tongue twister for me, apparently.
All the things that are missing are
a burgundy bed sheet and a Navajo printed bed cover and a gold watch.
Walk right in there and notice that stuff gone?
No.
Yeah. But eventually
that was later, yeah. But this is better storytelling this way.
Okay. Yeah.
Her truck was also still there.
No, she didn't leave a note?
No note, nothing, just...
No sign.
No blood or anything like that?
A massive hunt was launched. No sign of her whatsoever was found. The police have ruled this a homicide.
Yeah, go figure.
Now, you may be wondering, but Devin, she just was missing with some stuff. Why is this a homicide? Well, dear listeners, from all of the reporting, it does seem like it was pretty mundane, but I have read I cannot substantiate this, but I find it to be credible for whatever reason. Maybe it's my gut, I don't know. That there was a massive amount of blood in the cabin and that there were a lot of unanswered phone calls placed to the cabin, but not unanswered. They were picked up and hung up.
I was going to say, we actually, be careful by saying there's a massive amount of blood. We know that, there's a bunch of stuff that talks about blood, but we don't actually have any idea if it is a splatter of blood or a room full of blood.
The things that I've seen lean more towards way more.
Right, but the problem is that none of those are official, and so I just want to put in that little bit of hesitation because we can't say that the room was soaked in blood.
Right. So I think what I want to say is, in order for the police to have ruled it a homicide, they had to have found enough blood evidence to prove that somebody was dead.
To believe that,
yes. Like I don't know if you guys watch Forensic Files or not.
No, but that's your jam.
That's my jam. But there are a couple stories where they'll talk about something has been proven a homicide even without a body.
Yeah.
And in order to do that,
5 pints of blood laying
yeah,
on the
in
floor.
order to do that, they have to be able to say, wow, there's like enough blood here to definitely assume that person's dead, and it all came from the same person. Yeah. In this case, I don't know that they bothered to test. There's a lot of stuff that's not released to the public on this case, and I think that's intentional.
Oh yeah, it's unsolved.
Right. But yeah, and then there was also those phone calls where the phone rang, and it's my understanding the phone rang and was picked up and then put back down, like nobody actually said hello or anything.
No conversation.
Right, but like a number of times before the phone was just unplugged from the wall, which would also lead anybody who was examining the case to believe that somebody was there.
Somebody stayed there for a little bit, maybe stayed the night.
Maybe, yeah. That's fine too. This cabin, as we talked about, was what's called the drive-up cabin, and there are 2 different types of cabins. I don't know that I really need to say this, but I'm gonna anyway. A drive-up cabin is a cabin you can drive your car up to. Nice,
especially if you're a beer drinker.
Yeah. And then there are some, I don't know how many are in service. I would assume that the majority of the fire spotting cabins in use are drive-up cabins, but they also have hike-in cabins, which, again, as the name would lead you to believe, you have to hike in. You park at a trailhead or whatever, and you hike in, and you take all your stuff with you.
Right.
Which seems like kind of a bummer, but, whatever.
I kind of would prefer the drive-up myself.
Yeah. The drive-in cabin tower combos have seen massive improvements over the past 10 years. Really, it happened like pretty close after Stephanie disappeared.
Yeah, a lot of it was driven by this case.
It was definitely driven by this case. And if there is a, they kind of say if there's a silver lining here, it is that a lot of people are way safer now.
Although
But
it doesn't strike me as a terribly hazardous job.
Yeah, but you are out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
It does make you an easy target.
Oh yeah, well, that's why you definitely want to have a revolver or something with you.
yeah, if you're in America, you have a gun. But just to briefly touch on the cabins, especially drive-up cabins, were relatively unsafe.
Unsecure.
They were, unsecure. They weren't unsafe necessarily, but
they weren't stoutly
it'd
built.
be pretty easy for somebody to just break in. So there are now gates, chain link fences with, barbed wire around the cabins. That didn't exist. You could just drive up from any angle up to the cabins, which is already kind of like... I haven't seen if there were any unaccounted for tire marks or anything, but I think it's likely that the spotter who came to check on Stephanie would have ruined any of the, would have driven up and just gone over any kind of tire marks. If there had been, if somebody had pulled their car up and then pulled away, they probably would have pulled up and pulled away in the same fashion that them, and then the police also, because once the police responded, they probably didn't really know what they were looking at, and so I think it's likely that if there were other tire tracks that they had been destroyed.
And by the way, did the spotter, did he walk through the house or the cabin and make tracks in the blood, stuff like that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they are terribly large cabins. It's not like there's 5 rooms where you'd be like, Stephanie, are you in here? Stephanie, are you in here? But I don't know. I have no answer to that question.
Yeah. But and also, did they find any paw prints? Wolves, bears, anything like that in the blood?
No.
Okay. Really?
They ruled out an animal attack, is what I will say to you.
Oh, really?
I know you keep saying this, and we can talk about this all in theories, but...
Okay.
Additionally, there was brush surrounding the cabin, which would have made it really hard for you. I mean, on the one hand, it's a privacy thing for you as a person who's inside a cabin, right? Because it's harder to see just directly into the windows. But on the other hand, you can't just look out and be like, oh, there's a person running at the cabin. That's weird.
So, by brush outside, you mean bushes growing and covering your windows and stuff? Oh,
yeah. So you didn't have any good lines of visibility. That's since been cut down.
No good lines of fire, not at all.
Well, or even visibility. You can't see, down the road to see that there's a truck coming up.
Devin, visibility to you is line of fire to him.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you guys are saying the same thing.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
There was just one phone in the house, or in the cabin, is my understanding, which, again, pretty easy for somebody to just deny you access to that. And the doors were super flimsy.
They were like cardboard, right?
They were literally
Basically.
just cut out of cardboard. No, they're just normal wooden doors.
Kind of like the interior doors you had in a lot of newer houses where it's just a piece of 1/8 inch plywood on each side with the hollow middle kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding, and it was a wooden
doors.
Yeah.
And there were wooden frames, so again, it's pretty easy to just
put your fist through it.
Yeah, or force your way in or whatever.
Yeah,
that's one of the big improvements they have since made. All of the doors in these drive-up cabins are steel reinforced.
But they also changed out the glass and all of
Yeah, they're now shatterproof glass, and there's panic buttons. So the fire watchers, as mentioned, they have these harnesses that they're supposed to wear. And now, apparently, whenever they're on premises, it's my understanding, whether this is true or not, it remains to be seen, but that they're supposed to wear, they're tagged with trackers, basically, so that...
I thought it was a radio that had a panic button.
It's
on
both.
It. I thought it was like their regular walkie-talkie talk to the world radio is the way I took this to be.
Oh, I thought it was 2 separate things. That on their radio they have a panic button, and they also were tagged. They had you can
the old people life alert thing kind of tag.
I've fallen and can't get up kind of thing.
Those don't have geo trackers on them.
Okay, well this is the
it doesn't have
Canadian Forest Service version of it. But.
It's my understanding that those trackers don't have panic buttons in them or anything. They just are basically geolocators, so that if you went missing or you pushed a button, they could be and we know exactly where that person is, or at least
well, they know where the geolocator is.
They know where the right, but so that would also help track somebody
And
if
help
they
them
went
find
missing.
their body, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
even if you
Yeah.
didn't have time to push a panic button
Okay.
or whatever, that they'd be two separate things.
That's the distinction.
That's
that I
my
did not
understanding.
Catch. Okay.
Yeah, which would have been really helpful if
Oh yeah.
Stephanie had. Again, one of those kind of like maybe silver linings.
You know, it'd be easier just to outfit them with guns.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's a solve all. You know what I mean?
Probably
like
not.
it's
You're not
not.
always going to have it right at hand when you need it, but still.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that is our story.
So that's about it. Yeah. So she vanished, and nobody's heard a word about it. There's been no leads. Total cold trail.
Nothing found.
They beat the
Nothing.
brush. I mean, they looked more than just like 100 feet from the cabin, I assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was like
Yeah.
thousands of acres.
Yeah,
they
it was a
searched.
huge effort.
Actually,
was
tens of
mobilized
thousands, I think.
to
Yeah, and they
search
did
the entire area.
air, and they did divers in lakes, and like all sorts of stuff, and they just never found any hide nor hair of her,
Yeah.
which is pretty incredible.
So
actually.
you probably don't know this. Did they bring in trackers or anything like that before they went out and totally started thrashing around in the brush? Did they bring in any trackers who could really good at following people through the woods?
Oh, like
following
visual
trails?
trackers?
Like
Yeah.
people or dogs or either.
Or both.
I don't
yeah.
think so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the presumption is. Well, actually, why don't we just like talk about theories, and then we can talk about
Oh, okay.
that? Yeah.
All right.
Does that work
All
for
right.
you? Okay.
All right.
But first, let's take a break.
Mothra glides over the city with nary a care in the world. Oh look, there's Godzilla over there. Oh, and on the other side of town is Manila, Godzilla's big baby, getting into trouble again. Oh no! Manila smashed the only big box kitchen store in town. Uh-oh, watch out, buddy. Oh, he just crushed the place that sells those cute little shoes. That could cause some major problems for Mothra's wedding registry. But she's not worried. Nope, because she signed up at Zola. Zola is the wedding company that will do anything for love. They are reinventing the wedding planning and registry experience to make the happiest moment in our couple's lives even happier. With over 500 top brands and 50,000 gifts, experiences, and cash funds, Zola Registry has everything you love about your favorite department store, plus things like honeymoon funds, fitness classes, wine subscriptions, and so much more. So easy to use for couples and their guests, plus the friendly customer service team will go above and beyond, from helping you pick out the perfect blender to walking your grandmother through the registry. And with Zola's top-rated app for the iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch, couples can manage their registry on the go, and over 300,000 couples already have. Best of all, your Zola registry automatically integrates into your Zola wedding website, so guests can seamlessly shop and get all the details they need in one place. To sign up with Zola and receive a $50 credit towards your registry, go to zola.com/sideways. That's Zola, ZOLA.com/sideways to sign up for a $50 credit towards your registry. Don't let a Manila or any other little monster ruin your big day.
And we're back. So I guess the presumption is that if there was as much blood as it seems like there was at the site, that she was killed and then like wrapped up and taken away.
In the cabin.
Yeah, I mean that she would have been murdered in the cabin, and then that's why the blankets and the quilt were missing, is that somebody wrapped her up in that and then
threw her in the back
threw her
of
in
the
the back
car.
of the truck and then drove away.
Yeah.
I think that is by and large the presumption, particularly if she did lose so much blood, there would have been a blood trail if she had been left on foot or been dragged or like whatever.
Yeah, so the trail of blood only went out to the driveway and then off.
I don't think there
and
was a
just
trail
disappeared.
of blood.
Yeah,
I think there was
somebody
just
enough blankets, especially if they bled out already. But
yeah,
and
there
who
had
knows?
been a ton of blood.
Maybe she didn't die. Maybe she was kidnapped and carted away. She's still around.
Creepy factor, the other speculation of why the blankets and pillows and stuff were missing, the speculation on why those items were missing was that somebody else spent the night with Stephanie, with or without her consent, and if she was dead or alive.
I really hope that wasn't an amorous encounter.
And that, yeah.
Yeah, especially if she was dead.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what she's talking about.
And that
Yeah.
the repeated phone calls spooked the person into leaving with her body or with her.
Yeah, I probably figured, I'm not so far in the middle of nowhere. I can, expect nobody's going to show up for the next 3 months.
Or maybe didn't know that the check-ins were compulsory. Like maybe didn't realize that somebody.
How the process worked.
Yeah, didn't understand. They thought, well, they probably just check in if a fire happens, right? So, if they don't hear from her, oh no, right? And that the reason that, the pillows were missing, for instance, would be that if they had slept, they realized, okay, I left trace evidence.
I left some DNA.
I've got to get rid of these.
Mm-hmm. So this, what are you saying with this theory? You're saying that this is a targeted attack? Or are you saying this is a random attack?
I don't know. I'm
because
just
some
trying
of
to, up the creepy factor. I'm trying to... add, I guess the theory is why was that stuff missing?
Okay, because when you were talking about the person not knowing the schedule, that to me talks a little bit about premeditation. I see this person, I decide I want to kill this person, but not.
I think it can go either way, honestly. Even if it's
anything that said that somebody would want to target her, so that's why I was a little confused.
There's a few things, but more than that, I think that if somebody did want to target her, they knew what the process was like. And so I think that this speaks more towards it being a random or less meditated murder. But if it were just some random psychopath who lived in the town, close by, and just was I'm going to go kill somebody, and drove up and killed her.
And actually, it's it might that makes me wonder if maybe it was somebody who actually had an idea of where the towers were, who worked in them. Mm-hmm. Because she would seem like the ideal target for a random...
She's little.
Random psycho. Very tiny.
Yeah.
For a thrill kill? Little. Yeah, there's going to be nobody... She's not going to be able to fight back as much as a 200-pound person would.
200-pound guy, definitely.
Even though she was in, excellent shape.
So, but that would kind of suggest to me that maybe it wasn't entirely just random stranger killing after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she must have been the smallest of the spotters.
Yeah, probably she was one of the smaller ones. Yeah. Let's dig into some of the solid theories here. We're gonna dive into libel or whatever. And name some people. So one of the people that I see the name, I see this tossed around a lot on the internet, and actually, after digging into the one case officially associated with this person, I don't think it's so terribly off base, but there are a lot of question marks. Anyway, Steve's making his speculation face. Yeah, we're talking about Darth Vader.
No, he is nowhere near that cool. This guy.
No. Yeah, not Darth Vader. Sorry, Travis Edward Vader. You
sure it's pronounced Vader? It is Canadian.
That's true. Vade.
I'm gonna go with Vader.
Vader's
better.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, this man, Vader, is currently in jail for the murder of two, I'm going to say elderly. I don't like to classify Stephanie as elderly.
No, she wasn't. She was 70.
Retirees.
Yeah.
These people were retirees.
Well, they were like 80, so that's more elderly, I think. That's reasonable.
We'll just call everybody retirees. How's that?
That sounds good.
It's a politically correct term. Anyway.
Okay. Until we get an email about it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some term that we didn't know about. Vader is currently serving time for the murders of Lyle and Marie McCann. No relation to Madeline.
To Madeline. Right. Yeah, I know. You can't see that name and not think about Maddie.
So 79 and 80-year-old couple
they were
people.
80 and 79. So he was 80. She was 79.
Yeah.
Their bodies were also never found. So let's talk about their story real quick. Because, apparently.
Well, this was not far away.
It was like an hour away.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
Hours drive.
Yeah, hours drive. Thereabouts. And on July 3rd, the McCanns left their home in St. Albert for vacation. They were also supposed to pick their daughter up on the 10th at Abbotsford International Airport. They were seen on that day.
The
3rd, of July, getting gas. And it is noted that they were also towing their green Hyundai behind their SUV. They were driving an SUV because they were retirees.
RV, you mean?
RV. I'm sorry.
You said
Yeah.
SUV, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
the Hyundai's the SUV.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. But yeah, they were driving a RV because they were retirees, you know.
yeah. Old people in RVs, I don't know why they go together.
I don't know why either. It's because they
You're
don't want to
always home.
actually.
Yeah.
It's because they don't actually want to camp, but campgrounds are cheap. So.
well, no,
Yeah.
you know what? One of the things, listen, I now know some folks that are of the age to have RVs, and they love it because when you're at one park and you've been there for a couple of months and you get sick and tired of your neighbors, you know what you do?
You just drive
unplug and you drive to the next park. And suddenly you don't live next to the jerkwad who's always, doing whatever's annoying you.
No, that's kind of cool.
He's not mowing his lawn enough, and that bothers you, so you move to a different one. Not that you're
I
responsible
think you mean
for
a
mowing the lawn.
trailer park, not an RV park.
RVs, you will see them in trailer parks. A fair number of them, at least in the southern portion of this country,
Okay, fair
have slots that are open for day and week rentals, depending on the level of the park. But
Fair enough. Although they owned a home
Yeah.
as well, so I think their RV was just like a
convenient.
fun way for them to travel.
Fun way for him to take out the overhangs at gas stations.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's nice to not have to go into the hotel room and unpack your crap. And
Oh,
then pack
yeah.
it the
Yeah,
next
totally.
day, I guess, but still.
So
kind of
anyway, they
expensive
were
way to
driving
do
an
it.
RV, and on the evening of July 5th, so 2 days after they were seen getting gas, firefighters responded to an RV fire at the Minnow Lake Campground near Edson, Alberta. Remember Edson? I mentioned
Nearby
it
our
briefly.
place,
Yeah.
or our tower.
Yeah. No bodies were found. Police discovered that the RV did belong to the McCanns, but there was no sign of their Hyundai SUV that they had been towing behind it. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police,
AKA the Mounties.
the Mounties, visited the McCann's home. They didn't get an answer, so they kind of just were like, all right, well, I guess they're presumed missing, but they weren't going to do too much searching for them because their car was missing, so they were just like,
They probably drove away.
yeah, they might have. It might have been like an insurance fraud thing.
In hindsight, it's a weird, lax bit of motion on the part of the Mounties. I'm not criticizing.
Might
It's
have
just
been
in hindsight, it's like, maybe
Yeah.
you should have.
Might have been a busy day in their office, but yeah, they probably should have been on it a little quicker than they were.
5 days later, on July 10th, when they were supposed to pick their daughter up from the airport, they didn't arrive. So their daughter, who's named Trudy, notified the Mounties, and they filed a missing persons report and also released one, right? Be on the lookout. At that point, the Mounties realized that, oh, hey, McCann, that sounds interesting. Why does that sound
Familiar.
interesting?
Was that?
Why does that
Yeah.
sound familiar? I don't know. Oh, hey, yeah, I know. It's that RV that was burnt down by the Tim Hortons.
I did. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I didn't know you spoke Canadian.
Yeah.
I've been waiting this whole
Yeah.
time for that to happen. I
Good
knew
one.
it was gonna.
Yeah, I'm pretty good
Yeah.
at a Canadian accent.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
So hey, apologies to our Canadian listeners, by the way.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Love the maple leaf.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. God, you guys are amazing. Anyway, so the Mounties were like, oh, crap. Okay, these people are actually missing. Great. So let's search for them. So on the 16th, 6 days later, the Mounties did actually find that Hyundai. And they actually found it near Highway 16 and it's called Range Road 144.
Oh yeah, I know the spot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, familiar. We're all familiar with it.
Yeah.
This is about 18 miles or 30 kilometers east of Edson.
Which is near Hinton.
Yeah, which is right. Yeah, it's really near Hinton.
Yeah, which is near our tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edson and Hinton are both really close to our tower. Actually, our tower is on Highway 16.
Ah.
That's the one that it's like 3 miles off of. Anyway, the police, or the Mounties at that point, did say that they thought that the McCann's disappearance was foul play. And then that's at that time they announced that they thought that Vader was responsible for it.